Grand. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is one of our free to attend Twilight talks, which we hold around once a month on a Monday. We are thrilled to be introducing you shortly to Erica Suzuki and Anders Strandler from Studio 10. They have devised a brilliant way to avoid demolition in our housing market and increase housing capacity by upgrading and retrofitting existing terraced homes. So they're going to tell us much more about that shortly. Just a couple of housekeeping bits and bobs before we start. If you wouldn't mind keeping your mics off for now, do keep your video on if you would like to. It's nice for the speakers to be able to see who's in the room. Afterwards, we'll be able to share the presentation with you, and we'll also be able to share the recording of the event in case there's something you want to go back over. What else should I tell you? It's a 1 hour session, and we'll also be sending you a feedback form afterwards. So please do fill that in. It's really helpful for us. And I should probably also tell you that we've got our own retrofit accredited course. It's a level 2. Do check that out on our website if you'd like to. And you also might be interested in one of our next upcoming events, which is called Regenerative Design. It's on the 17th of September, and it's led by a structural engineer called James Norman. So we're having a short break over August. So this is one of our sort of last events before we break. But don't worry, we'll be back with a bang in September onwards. And there'll be a packed calendar of events for you to attend. I will stop talking now. If you wanted to pop any questions in the chat as we go along, you're really welcome. We'll pick those up towards the end. So we'll let Erica and Anders go through their presentation, and then we'll pick up questions and answers towards the end. You can put them into chat meanwhile, or at the end, we can invite you to turn on your mics, and you're very welcome to ask your questions live as well. And it's always good to hear about your experiences as well with retrofit. So if you did want to add comments into the chat, not just questions, you're welcome to do that too. It's always really interesting for us. Okay, I will stop sharing my screen and let these guys take over and enjoy the session. Thank you.
Oh, well, thanks for the introduction, Charlotte. Should we share our slide?
Yeah, please go ahead with that. Thank you.
Yes.
There it is.
Yeah. Okay. Control.
Yeah.
That's great. If you just wanted to set it on how we had it before, that would be brilliant. But it's good.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. Thank
Lovely.
you. Thank you for joining, everybody.
Yeah.
So my name is Erica Suzuki. I'm from Tokyo originally. I'm one of the directors at Office 10 Architecture. And I'm also a studio master at the Architectural Association since 2017. And kind of initiator of the Greenest House initiative movement.
Yeah, and my name is Anders. I'm an architect. I'm from Oslo, Norway. I'm also a director here at Office 10 Architecture. In addition, I teach as well. I'm a design tutor at for Unit 1 at University of Greenwich. And before we get started, I just wanted to say this, that this is sort of like a work in progress, what we're going to talk to you about. We're not sort of saying that we've solved all the issues. We are trying to find a solution, and we want people to join us. So, you know, if there is something in this presentation that speaks to you or your particular skills or you know, what you normally work with, and you're interested in being part of this is a partnership. So, you know, please get in touch. Yeah.
Okay, before going into Greenest House project, I wanted to kind of introduce who we are. So Offiston Architecture is a London-based architecture practice dedicated to the quiet power of preservation and renewal. We give new life to existing spaces by tackling complex challenges across architecture and beyond. These are some of our works, example. And since 2017, we've honed an approach that maximizes existing space and adapts it to contemporary living. Guided by the belief that functionality is key to a good life, we focus solely on what's necessary to minimize environmental impact and create diverse spatial experience. Drawing on our native Norwegian and Japanese traditions, our work combines the natural beauty and strengths of raw materials with considered construction techniques and functional layouts. By aligning these elements with the needs of our clients and society at large, we create spaces for a more intentional way of life and unfold. A life to unfold, sorry. So what we mean by intentional way of life, we believe functionality is key to living a good life, and believe in power of architecture to improve lives. And architecture as a connecting thread between inhabitants and their communities and the architectural profession itself. So we try not to demolish if there is something we can use from the existing building. We'll try to combine existing and the new.
Yeah, and then also, I mean, what our work is mainly focused on, as you've seen, working with existing properties, and the Greenest House has sort of grown out of that work that we've been doing. But in addition, we as we said in the beginning, we teach, Eric at the AA and I teach at Greenwich. We previously taught at Greenwich, both of us, and we started this unit, which you see some work from here, some student work, this Unit 1. And it's all about sort of working with existing properties and coming up with strategies of sort of surveying and understanding existing building fabrics, and then proposing new ways and sort of adaptive reuse of these existing houses. And then sort of a precursor to the whole Greenest House project was that we started a joinery company. It was basically started as an idea that when we did our own place, we realized that space is such a premium in London, so every sort of millimeter counts. So doing bespoke joinery is actually quite cost effective. But for a lot of our clients, you know, that becomes too expensive to do. So we relied on sort of our knowledge and skills of working with CAD, and then created basically these three-dimensional puzzles that that becomes these joinery pieces. And you know, there was a bit painful in a way in the beginning to sort of step out of the traditional designer role. But it also gave us a lot of sort of energy and belief that, you know, in order to achieve what we want to do within architecture, sometimes we have to do that. We have to sort of take on other roles. So here's just some examples of like project where we have done both the design and sort of building, or design and building more the joinery. And this is just some snaps from our office, where just some, you know, some tests that we've been doing, building kitchen, building tables, and all these sort of things.
Shows behind us.
Yeah. So to kind of join those things together, we believe there's a sort of a need to preserve, but also renew, right? And this process adds value when we apply our, you know, architecture in the right way. And we also know from studying these things that no new house can be as green as an existing house. The greenest house is the one that's already there. And these are sort of all the things that has happened before we started doing Greenest House, and is sort of where we're coming from, I guess, with this project.
So the main topic of today is the Greenest House. We need to kind of go back to maybe around 2019. So around this time, I believe, we read this book by Roger Zogolovich, and as the cover says, we need more homes, and that's a fact. We need volume, light, and character. We need liberated rules. We need imagination to unlock forgotten small plots. And this book really kind of resonated with us. And then we started to think about developing. And then the title of the book is Shouldn't We All Be Developers? So this was kind of within us during the pandemic. And come 2020, we found a funding opportunity for startups. And so we started writing about it. And of course, we didn't just want it to become a developer. We wanted to create some sustainable developing system. But at this point, we didn't really know how to do it. And through this, it was actually a very good exercise for us to write up the proposal, because this was the kind of birth of Greenest House movement. And what we thought, or actually we studied quite a lot of developers' model, how they make profit. And basically what they normally do is, as here, they acquire a house and they increase in size, maybe rear extension, side extension, dormer, loft dormer, and then they subdivide. This is our proposal, so it's slightly different to normal developer style, but they just split on the ground floor and then the first floor above, and then sell it, and then this increase in the space will be added to the value. And we thought, but hold on, how are we going to put all the required sustainable technologies? And through our conversation, actually, if we don't extract the profit, but use this profit for the green upgrades, would that be a good new way of being a developer? So this was the really initial idea of Greenest House. And around that time, as Office 10, we were doing residential retrofit. I think this was the first time that actually we could do quite a lot of green upgrades, and it was about finding the right client. They were a young couple with kids that they really wanted to do something different. So this is just a site photo, but showing external insulation, upgraded the windows and doors that needed to, it was leaking before, but now it's, at least this is double glazed. Also, this is before and after photographs. So left it was a boiler, but we installed air source heat pump, and just using the existing, the footprint of the house, but doing it a little bit more intentionally to say this creates this viewing frame. I think it had quite big impact spatially. So this is before on the left and after on the right. We didn't, as our principle now, it is that we try to keep as much existing as possible, but upgrade where it's necessary, as you can see. And 2022, yes, we have been keep on doing this exercise, kind of exercise for a while. 2022, this was a little bit more advanced, I think, in terms of choice of materials. And again, this house was fully equipped with air source heat pump for heating and external insulation on the first floor level, but extension was cladded with cork. And again, like first floor, well, it's UPVC windows, but we said it does the job like thermally, so we kept it and focused on what's needed. Loft was added, and the client was also wanting to use some material which is sustainable. This was Foretto, I think, countertop. These are just kind of snapshots of what we have done with this house. But from 2019 to 22, still not every project in Office 10 has been successful in that way. We need to admit that we do feel the kind of awareness has been changed, and many of the clients are looking towards sustainable retrofit. However, the biggest obstacle is the cost. So, you know, we start designing to decommission gas, air source heat pump, external installation, solar panels, and then let's change to the glazing to triple glazing. What happens is that when the tender comes back, the first thing, you know, goes out of the windows are these measures, because, and then also, especially like insulation, I mean, you can't really see it. If you have budget, I mean, limited budget, they want to spend more budget on the kitchen that you can see rather than putting the insulation. So it has been quite, how do you say, a little bit like frustrating process as an architect who wants to do something. And so that's definitely one obstacle. And then the second obstacle we often feel is the legislation and site planning policy. So when we did our place, the first few slides that we've shown you, it was actually our place, and it's a first floor flat, first and second floor flat, actually. And we already engaged air source heat pump company. We paid a deposit, and then what we were told is actually the tiny flat roof we have is not enough to put the heat pump. What do you say?
Yeah, the equipment.
Equipment, yes. So we couldn't really do it. And then with the planning policy right now with flats, I mean, you can't really put those equipment in the front garden. And then we don't have access to the rear garden because that's owned by somebody else. And then also, if you are living in a leasehold flat, the envelope is often owned or maintained by freeholders. So even if you want to do external installation, you can't. And there, like, of course, we do feel the support from the government has been like, you know, changed. For example, air source heat pump has, you know, £7,500 grant at this moment. But again, in order to install it, the client still needs to have another 5K. And on top of it, they need to change their glazing, and then they need to do the installation. So it is still very difficult currently to implement all our thoughts into every single project. And come 2024, we are invited to exhibit our work at European Cultural Centre's Time, Space, Existence exhibition at this year's Biennale. And Office architecture is a small architectural practice. And we were like, what are we going to exhibit? No. And one day in the office, we were working, and then Anders came and then said, we are going to launch Greenest House. We had been thinking about it too long. We need to do this now. So, okay, well, let's do it. But how? We such a small practice. What are we going to do? So then, this is a little bit kind of. There were lots of discussions how we're going to do it, and we said, okay, let's, as we preach to our students, let's try to look for precedents in the world. So as I introduced myself, I'm from Japan, and I thought about Ise Shrine. Maybe some of you have heard about this shrine. So Shinto is the main religion in Japan. And this is the main shrine of the Shinto religion itself. What it's famous for is that every 20 years, they rebuild this shrine. So they have exactly the same shaped plot next to each other. And then you build one. And then after 20 years, you start building the other. And then while doing that, you demolish the other thing. Okay, it does sound quite far away from the sustainability. Why do you rebuild every 20 years? So if you are a 15-year-old, you're apprentices. Your dad, assuming you're a 35-year-old, he is a middleman. And then 55-year-old grandfather, he is running a team. So the knowledge is passed on to different generations. That's one. But secondly, in order to have this whole like timber building material, they have a vast forest around it. And there are people who is growing these trees for generations and generations. That's two. And maybe some of you have watched Spirited Away by Studio Ghibli, and there are like lots of kind of gods with different shapes and then different characters. So a few of the gods are living in this main shrine. But they are very demanding. You need to feed them every day, I think in the morning and then in the evening. But in order to do that, there are rice fields that rice farmers are supporting this system. And from the rice, people make sake. And then also there are fishermen who fish, and then people who make salt, and all these industries.
Sorry, don't forget the blacksmiths that create the tools for the carpenters and
yes,
in the traditional way.
Yes, and then I kind of forgot to tell you that this tradition has been going on for 1300 years. And then this like rebuild of every 20 years, I think they only missed once in 1300 years during the war, I think Second World War. So it's a kind of, and also the materials or the building which is dismantled, these timber, they would be distributed to the local shrines all over in Japan, and then they would be used to repair the other shrines because it's the most sacred shrine of the whole Japan. So we thought, okay, there is a system that everybody can thrive if there is a good central system attached to it. As Greenest House becomes like a Ise Shrine, maybe that is a little bit too ambitious, but Anders had another reference.
Yeah. So I'm from Norway, as I said, and we have this concept of dugnad, which I'll talk about. But I just want to say maybe one thing that's very important with this whole Ise story is that it's not just about it's also about sustaining the knowledge, right? Keeping the knowledge there. So because one thing that we see often in architecture is that a project is done and it can be like a beacon of sustainability and does sort of all the things right. But as soon as the project is finished, the design team is spread, goes to work on different projects, and all the solutions, all the knowledge that was kind of created during that project disappears. But if you have a system like ISE, where every 20 years something is redone, that generational thing there becomes kind of a way to store the knowledge. Okay, so over to dugnad. This is actually like an Old Norse word, dugnader, that comes from like kind of back to the Vikings, and it basically means help, right? It's I think the English. I'm just like I read the etymological Norwegian book, and I've tried to translate it into English. So the definition of dugnad is a cost-free execution of a larger piece of work, often of a practical type, which is made possible by several, usually neighbors or association members, joining forces to complete it. So in the old days, this was sort of farmers and the people living around that would come together to raise like a barn or something. Today, every block of flats will have, like in the spring and in autumn, they will come and like paint fences and do all the sort of maintenance work that needs to be done, as you can see in this little drawing here. Sports clubs will have it, you know, marching bands in school will have it to raise money and to get stuff done. So it's sort of an idea of a different sort of economic model where you can do different things. Because what if you would have to pay somebody to do all these things, it wouldn't have been done, right? Because the money isn't there. So we thought also about that. Is there a way that we can sort of create a different economic model that allows different things to happen? Because with the current economic model, what usually happens is that everybody's cutting costs all the time in order to maximize profits. And if you don't do that, you just go out of business. So, you know, we need to come up with some other way to allow the changes that we want to see happen. After we decided to launch this in Venice, Erica did this amazing cold calling for weeks and weeks, calling around to all sorts of different associations. We became members of ASBP and UKGBC during that time, and we established a lot of really interesting relationships with a lot of manufacturers, researchers, suppliers of building material, because we thought, from learning from ISE and learning from dugnad, the people that we really should have with us are the people that make building products, because they can then supply, you know, they can make money of selling their products to Greenest House, right? And then we can do our services as an architect, but we don't need somebody there to extract the profit. The profit then we keep in the process, and it's just reinvested into sustainable upgrades for the existing house. Shall we talk about these various partners? Or?
I think we have it.
Yeah, okay.
Time. Yeah,
it's there. Yeah.
Oh, yes, 2025. So yes, we successfully went to Venice, and then now the exhibition is in Palazzo Moda. So if you ever go to Venice during the Biennale time, please have a look at it. And I think we want to now go into the Greenest House proposal itself, and then also would like to kind of show you where we would like to go.
Yeah, so what you see here is sort of what we distilled as the key principles of Greenest House. So it follows the sort of cycle that we showed you earlier, that you'll see later as well. And number one is don't demolish. Number 2 is extend. So because that's the greenest house, right? That's the one that's already there. 2 is extend and add. So that's where we increase the value of the property. Without an increase in value in the property, greenest house doesn't exist, right? And then number 3 is that increase in value is not extracted. Instead, number 4, upgrade, right? And then there's this 5 on the side, which is join us. I mean, this isn't our business. This is a project that we are running together with all our partners. So as I said in the beginning, if you're interested, you've got expertise that you think might be necessary, or you want to contribute in some way, do get in touch. Yeah, here is that cycle. So it just shows that it can kind of keep on going sort of indefinitely. As soon as it's done and the asset is sold off and released, you can buy another one and keep going. And you always go sort of in zero. Yeah.
But we want to roll it out in scale.
Yeah, we do want to roll it out in scale. You know, this was sort of an idea. Could we do like a whole street? We started thinking about, if we do a whole street, why don't we have like a ground source heat pump that is shared in the whole kind of backyard of lots of different houses and so on? You know, the opportunities are endless in how we can kind of create better.
So you've done how the pizza, eat first and do that after.
But let's go move into the actual proposal. So we are currently focusing on Victorian terraced houses because there's so many of them here where we practice. We do a lot of work with them, and they are much loved. But it doesn't have to be a Victorian terraced house. It can be any existing house, as long as the key principles are followed. And here you see a ground floor plan of kind of existing here on the left and proposed on the right. Yeah, and here you see the sort of main thing that we do different from other people that split terraced houses, right? We're adding another stair, and that allows us to make sure that the garden, maybe this is better to show you. So the blue is flat A and the green is flat B. So you have the ground floor, the first floor, and the loft. So you come in, there's a shared entrance and a stair going up to flat B. Flat B is over the half of first floor and the loft, creating a nice sort of one-bed flat for a couple or single person. And then the larger flat on the ground floor with the normal stair, and then half the first floor is great for a family. And then, of course, the family and the kids have access to the garden, which is what often doesn't happen in a normal situation. And depending on sort of size of the existing property, you can get up to a 4-bed for 6 people here, and plus a 1-bed for 2 people. So it is increasing quite significantly the efficiency of land use. Let me just see if I've got everything here that I wanted to say. Yeah, so we keep the masonry structure in place because there's a lot of embodied carbon in the masonry structure. Timber structure has to sort of be, the floors and the walls and so on have to be moved around quite significantly to make these efficiencies happen. But we are sort of proposing that all of that timber can be reused to kind of create an interesting sort of shared garden room type structure at the back. Yeah, so that's just the view from the rear. And what's quite nice about this extra stair, it also allows the first floor windows to be part of the flat that belongs to the garden, whereas it's a bit further away up here, the other one, so it's a bit more private.
Oh yeah, but maybe you didn't explain. Actually, for the flat B, the first and then loft floor flat, we would like to give the terrace
Yeah.
roof terrace. So even though you're on the upper floor, you have external amenities, and then that's not always achieved.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can see here we've drawn in an air source heat pump here, and we're thinking maybe it could be an air source heat pump up on the roof terrace, and then solar panels on the roof. But we are actually hoping that planning policies will change a little bit so that we can have the air source heat pump in the front garden. There, that way we could share an air source heat pump between the two units, and we could have the tank and so on up here. So that could be accessed without, needing to get to the back garden and so on. If someone was on holiday and the heating breaks down, what are you going to do? Yeah, so that's just a model showing sort of the section. This is the top flat here, and then the bottom flat there. Oh yeah, and then one of our partners has done a sort of initial calculation on the whole proposal, and it's showing currently a potential 90% reduction in the operational carbon footprint. I think that is it. Yeah.
Oh yes, and going forward, so after or during Biennale, we started to have some interviews, and it has been picked up on. This was BD. This was RIBA Journal. I think it was on June issue, and then Housing Today. So and then also thank you all for coming today. Many people have been starting to be aware of this movement, which is really encouraging for us. But the next step is really to realize the first Greenest House. And I think so the consolidation of partner was very important, and still we are talking to many people about the partnerships, because for the George sustainability to do, going back this calculation, we needed to know what kind of products we are going to use, and what kind. The next step also is actually like life carbon assessment, which we haven't done it yet, but we need to know the specification of the Greenest House. So that would be really important. The number one was the consolidation of the partnership. But then secondly, I think the next one is to find the funding route. So we have kind of thought few routes to take this. And the route one potentially is I think this was the basic of like relying on the market property. So if you start from the top, it's an empty house on the market. We will do Greenest House, and then it will become flat A and a flat B. Flat B would be sold, and then there would be the money, but this is to fund the overall works to do the required upgrades. And then flat A would be sold to fund another project. So then with this, we could perpetually continue this cycle until every home in the UK or beyond is Greenest housed. Another route, we have had a little bit of discussion with councils. It's still very early stage, but we thought this.
We've had some positive sounds. Yeah.
Yes. So I think for council houses, we thought there are two routes I think we can take. Which one is sell one model. So council house, many of them needs upgrading. So we do the Greenest House. Flat B would be sold and then fund the overall works. But the flat A upgraded, and then that would be kept as a council flat.
And importantly, in this model, the council doesn't need to provide any capital, right? They just need to provide the house, and then the work is done. One of the new unit pays for the works, and then they get to upgrade their properties. They get more properties in their local borough to meet their housing targets, and they get a lower carbon footprint overall.
Yeah, And then the second thing is keep to model. So again, a council house with a flat A and flat B. There are, I think we could do like one long-term rental. So that would be rented out for long term, and then with like certain years later, the council would have back that property in full control. Another option is maybe two of them in short-term rental, so that's the cost of works could be recovered in a short term. Then like council can have those two flats back in a certain period of time.
Because we don't want to remove, we think it's a shame that councils have lost a lot of their properties, and we don't want to, you know, contribute to councils losing very important council housing. So, you know, this is another way of looking at it, where, okay, in the short term, maybe the council has a bit less, but in the long term, they are actually retaining the whole thing.
Another option is to actually target the homeowners. And so individually owned homes, some people have the asset but don't have the budget or to upgrade the some owners don't have means to do so. Then what we could do as Greenest House is that with this flat A and flat B, flat A, the owners could keep the upgraded flat, but then flat B would be sold to fund the overall works.
So in a way, it's very similar to the first one. It's just that, you know, we partner with homeowners that are they have a large property that they don't need maybe that large anymore, and they don't have the cash to do the required maintenance and upgrades.
Yes. And then this is a little bit like offshoot from these homeowners, but also we are through our practice, we realize the importance of people being in the same area and also close proximity to the family. So maybe this could become a multi-generational model. So some parents with large house, which they can't really, they want downsizing, but then the next generation child or with his or her own family, they could come up together, and then the younger generation occupies the ground floor flat, and then older generation can live upstairs, but then working generation can have a mortgage to support the or fund the overall works. Maybe something like this.
Yeah, because this is also the, you know, one of the issues that a lot of people face today is loneliness. Particularly old people suffer a lot from loneliness. They wish they had their family closer to them, but then their family can't live where they're living because the house prices are too high. People can't afford to buy. So this would be a great way to sort of create a solution for that particular problem. And I think that sort of ties in with this, one of the original ideas of the Greenest House, is that how can we create better, more efficient housing in London or all of UK without demolishing? Because as soon as you start demolishing, you see that happening. Whole areas flatten, they high-rise come in. Of course, it provides a lot more flats, but the community was there, it's gone. You know, especially old people are affected badly by this, by having to move to a different area where they don't know anybody and their whole sort of network is gone. So this is, Greenest House is also has that as a kind of key feature, that, you know, we want to retain houses, not just because of carbon and energy, but also because of social connections.
Yes. I think that's this is the last slide. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, both of you. Does anyone have any questions for Erica and Anders? I think I did spot one in the chat, so I can pick that one up straight away while everyone else thinks of their questions. So Tom was saying he loves the regenerative and functional architecture ideas you've developed. Also, the embodied carbon and circularity appears high importance in your practice, which is great. How do you model the energy design and the operational efficiency on your buildings?
Sorry, could you repeat the last part?
Yeah, sure. How do you model the energy design and the operational efficiency on the buildings?
Great question. So we are not qualified assessors in doing these sort of calculations, and that's why we have partnered with Jaws Sustainability to help us with that. So I think the idea is sort of saying that we don't want to reinvent the wheel, and we don't want to sort of think that we have all the answers, but we want to reach out to find good solutions that already exist, partner with people that are really passionate about creating change in the built environment, and rely on their expertise, bring that along into the project. So when it comes to sort of calculating environmental impact in terms of energy and carbon and so on, we're quite in the beginning of doing that. We currently just have what we shared, sort of the energy assessment that Jaws done, but we're now working on developing details for the building in partnership, well, together with all our partners, and then Jaws will likely do a whole life carbon assessment.
But also, I think it's important to, so the idea of Greenest House is we would like to accumulate this knowledge. I mean, of course, how much CO2 we emit from the beginning until the end, but also say like one of the partners, Bronze and Co, they do like linseed paint, and like what's the impact with using natural material paint compared to petrochemical based paint. All these things we would like to monitor, and each house is quite it looks similar but quite different, and I think that's the difficulty of scaling retrofit. I mean scaling retrofit, say like Victorian terrace house, but with the accumulation of the knowledge as well as having a core partners, I think hopefully that would give us some sort of indication in the also long run as well, not just like one case study by case study.
Yeah, and that's a very important point, I think, is about natural materials, because it has a great impact. Like we really want to create breathable build-ups based on natural materials for two reasons: the indoor climate, and also because when houses eventually become old and they need to be replaced, is it made out of 17 different types of plastic? You have 17 different types of problems, right? When you deal with the demolition or the retrofitting again later. So yeah, it's something that it's also, we're hoping that we can partner with, we've had some discussions with educational institutions, somebody that can do a bit of research. It would be great to have the first Greenest House become sort of like a test laboratory where the indoor climate can be tested and these sort of things. So if someone out there are really, for example, the person that raised this question is knowledgeable on that, please reach out to us and maybe we can do a collaboration.
Great, thank you. Thanks for answering so fully. I've got a question here from Melissa about financial modelling and seed money. So thinking about sort of suppliers being interested in sort of scale. So she's saying who'd be providing the seed money to cover, say, 15 units at once, and also would the sales cover the professional fees as well as the cost to build?
Yes, so we have started talking to some banks and venture capital, because precisely that initial money, we need to fund it somewhere before this actual eventuality of sales happen to cover.
This one.
Yes, maybe, yes. So in order, this part, we're still working on it. As Anders explained, this is a really kind of beginning of the next phase of the Greenest House. And we, as we suggested in kind of Isse Shrine model, that we believe environmental sustainable buildings need to be financially sustainable as well. So everybody who is in part of it. So that's why, I mean, we wouldn't, so we're not the standard developer. We wouldn't get the big money in the end. Like this big profit would be put back into the system, but everybody who provides the service and then the materials should be paid according to what they do. I mean, if financially, if it's not sustainable, I think this model cannot thrive. So in the calculation of Excel sheet, we need to put the services fee and the material fee to secure the system to thrive.
Now, also, I think we have a sort of an idea, kind of an understanding with most of the partners that the beginning will be sort of, they will provide their materials and so on at cost, and same for us with our services. Just make sure that we get over that first hump. But we're also confident that as we progress, we will get much better at what we're doing, and there will be savings in sort of knowing, how to improve details, where we get materials from, and scheduling of the works and all that kind of stuff will become much more streamlined over time.
And Cheryl raises an important point, the idea of the older generation sort of living in the upper floors. How do you deal with the accessibility issues, especially with sort of limited width of stairs?
Yeah, so this is a good question, and we have, I think the current design that we showed you today is the third or the fourth sort of iteration. And of course, maybe this model doesn't fit that well for the multi-generational property. Maybe there is another option that we need to develop, which is the sort of thinking about level access and old people not having to use so many stairs. I mean, it's a really good point. So, but we're so used to working with these sort of terraced properties, and we're confident that we can knead it into that configuration as well.
Thank you. And a couple of people have talked in the chat about this this model working quite well with London housing market being quite affluent, I suppose. Is it going to work in other places? Have you looked at that at all?
That is a good point. So, as we said, it relies on an increase in value. So how much value can you increase? In London, that's very different from Newcastle. And that, of course, is one of the potential problems with the model, that it might not work to its full potential all over the UK. And that's something that we haven't looked at in too much detail. We've sort of said, well, it would work in London. London has a lot of terrace properties. Let's get going. We can find good solutions. We can find good ways of doing things. And as we get better at it, maybe we can go further than we currently think, also in areas where property prices are not as high.
But also, I think the fundamentally the increase, if there is increasing in size, there is increase in value. So of course, the question is how much value this merging. But I think there is some way, if we could increase in the size, there is a potential.
Well, one way it potentially could work is that we partner up with a council, you know, and the council has, you know, we can allow a larger extension to be done, or you know, that it isn't so tied up to sort of a close to permitted development sort of extensions as it is currently. But it is more of a partnership with the council where they will find the appropriate houses and sites and so on that can tolerate a bigger increase in size to make sure that we get the added value that's needed to do the upgrades.
Slightly leads into the next question that I had on the list, which is from Amanda. How are planning department reacting to this? How are you working with planning?
I mean, this model is, we think this is quite realistic in terms of, you know, following laws of different councils could allow this.
Yeah.
Some councils maybe not, but because we kind of didn't connect the side extension as well as rear extension, and then also the terrace has its own
1.7 meter
height so that there isn't any overlooking issues. So I think this is quite realistic. We're in the office, we're calling it example street. So this example street is a kind of good example, we believe.
Yeah. But again, I mean, it is one of those things that it depends on where we do it and the council and so on. I mean, if we do a collaboration with the council, I mean, we would then, of course, you know, have an extended pre-app process where we make sure that they are 100% happy with the proposal.
Thank you. So Peter's saying, why have you removed the chimney breasts from the terrace house? Could it be used to fit the ducting for the air source unit? And he's also asking about, most terrace houses have defects, rising damp and poor air ventilation. How would you be getting around that?
Sorry, I just need to go, but thank you so much.
We have a child to pick up.
All right, thanks, Erica.
Thank you.
So yeah, so the ducting, that's a good idea, something we definitely should look into. That's kind of the next stage, detailing. And then what was the second question? Was about rising damp and
two questions in one, which is always difficult for you to process. But yeah, sort of talking about defects from rising damp, poor air circulation, and so on. How are you getting around that issue? Have you got?
Well, we're thinking, you know, as far as the increase in value allows it, that every greenest house would be fitted with mechanically vented heat recovery systems. So that would do a lot of the work for us. Rising damp is always kind of a tricky thing, and you know, sometimes it can be more down to interstitial condensation than it's actually rising damp. So it's you know, it's a very complex problem that, you know, in one property might be a big thing, in another property won't be. So yeah, it's a sort of case by case things. I don't think we are we're not at the stage where we can
No.
we don't know the answers to all of these things yet.
Great. So I've got one more question. I've got two kind of idea. Oh no, there's another question popped in. We're running out of time, but we'll try and address the last couple. So Debbie from ASBP. Hi, Debbie. I love the way you're making creative living spaces. How does the Greenest House partnership work in practice when working on a project? Is there someone acting as a project manager or site agent?
Well, at the moment, it's just sort of an academic thing, right? We're calling it Example Street. It's not on the site, so we don't know exactly how it would be done. We are talking to 2 or potentially 3 builders that are very interested in this type of project. They're very interested in working with natural materials and so on. And another thing that we have also discussed is that maybe part of the Greenest House is actually setting up a construction company so that it sort of becomes we have synergies between the various works. So yeah, it's unfortunately I don't have the specific answer to that either, but it can work in different ways depending on who we partner with, I guess. So if someone out there is a builder and who's very interested in this project, get in touch and we can talk about how we could do it. I think the key is that we can do it over many years, so that we know it's like, okay, what are we going to do here? Okay, well, let's do it like we did on the last one, or this last one, this didn't work so well. So, you know, there's always like learning from past experiences. I think that's key. And then getting the right people in that really burning for this sort of thing, rather than just looking at it as another project.
Great, thank you. We need to close the session very shortly. There's a couple of ideas that have popped into the chat, which you might be hearing about. So Tom is saying, could you work with local universities or course providers that embed passive house or low energy buildings, so that you could get a cohort of students led by the tutor to do the energy modeling of the case buildings?
Would love to do that. Yeah, get in touch. We can arrange something. We'll have a talk and then we'll see what we can do. That sounds great.
Yeah, and Robert has another idea, which is, have you talked to any housing associations? The idea could work well as part of a general regeneration of an area, and it could help solve many problems like social inclusion. So maybe what you're getting at there, Robert, is having people actually participating in the projects as well, who maybe live in that area. Feel free to switch your mic if you'd rather explain that yourself. But that's a nice idea too.
Yeah, it's great.
Hello, it's Robert here. Yeah, I was thinking on what very quickly what Anders has said earlier about obviously keeping the generations together all in one space, as it were. I've worked quite a lot on sheltered housing for the elderly, and I think, you know, it can be a very good thing. But to have it sort of so embedded in the community as this kind of idea would allow. But I think, Anders, it would be a good idea to talk to some housing associations in your kind of neck of the woods, because they will have the, if you like, the initial sort of momentum and capital to help you along with it, you know, worked with you and help you along with this idea. They'll probably have lots of problems to tell you about and things like that. But as I think Jan has also said, I think it's something that could work well in scale, you know, as a sort of a terrace or a whole street development. And that's where a housing association might have that kind of clout.
That's a good point. We will I'll definitely contact the local housing associations.
Sure.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for all your inputs. Lots of great questions and comments there, and ideas that you can take away there. Anders, thank you very much for presenting for us today. It's a really interesting project. And thank you to Erica, who's had to fly off, but we've really enjoyed this session. And of course, thank you all for joining us today. Hope to see you soon. See you in September, probably. If you're not already a Green Register member, then please do hop onto our website, because you will get lots of money off training and various other great benefits. But thank you again to you, Anders. Good luck with the project. It's fantastic. And do keep us up to date.
Yeah, will do. I just wanted to say, like, finally, thank you all for coming, spending your Monday evening with us here, listening to our ideas. We think this is super interesting to work on, and we're so happy that other people also seem to be interested in this idea. So we're just hoping that you know, if this tickled your fancy, get in touch with us, and we can do some sort of partnership. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Lovely. Have a good evening, everyone. Anders, if you want to stay on, then we'll have a quick chat afterwards. And
all right.
everyone else a good evening.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.